Hi, this is Editing Vin. I'm trying to piece together this podcast that was recorded on multiple days. Part of it was not recorded and then I had to re-record it. And it's kind of funny because I can hear at the very beginning how not tired I was. So every time that you hear a car revving engine noise, that is where the next part of the podcast was recorded on a different day. Thank you for bearing with me. Okay, everyone, thank you for coming to my podcast. We're going to talk about all of the Fast and Furious movies today. And in fact, there are so many of them, we don't have time to talk about them all in one day. So we're going to split this up. And if it takes too long, I might even have to split up the podcast into two different podcasts. With me today is Nat. And Nat is definitely the person that I know personally who knows the most about the Fast and the Furious movies. He saw them way before I did. I think he owns all of them.
I don't own the last 3.
Oh, I'm sure you'll get there.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the box set.
Yeah, I think that's what I decided at the end. I'm just gonna wait for it to get like Fast 10, and then I can get Hobbs and Shaw if it doesn't included.
They kept on releasing box sets one after the other, but I'm like, why don't I just wait for the story to be finished?
So you think the story will be finished?
And then it's not.
Right, it'll be Fast 20, Fast XX, Fast Triple X.
Fast Triple X. That's when Dom Toretto meets Xander Cage. I'm willing to watch that.
That'd be funny. Oh my god.
He had a twin brother all along that no one spoke about.
I'm sure that's Fast 13.
Fast 13.
or something.
If you believe Jacob came out of nowhere.
Oh my god, I have so many theories on Jacob. But, okay, so we're going to go movie by movie. And I'm going to tell you, I did rewatch everything for the sake of not just this podcast, but for part 10. Not that I really even believed that it would help me understand it. And I realized that I think somewhere around Fast 5 or 6, that there's no way I can keep any of these movies straight. But one movie I do always remember is the first one, The Fast and the Furious, which I didn't see until many years after it came out. It came out, I think, the year right before my daughter was born. So even though I love cars and, this movie would be right up my alley, I didn't get to it. And then I didn't even get to them until way, way later.
Yeah, I saw them. I don't believe I went to the theaters to see this, but I did hear about, a lot of racers going to watch these movies and speeding out of the theaters in their souped up cars.
I can't even imagine. The movie definitely gets me into the mood of
pushing the gas and leaving. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Everyone probably wanted to have NOS, whatever that is. I'm not even 100%
Everyone
sure.
wanted NOS. That's the first time in my life I heard about it.
No, me neither. And I guess this was a whole actual thing. It was based on, people who actually did race and obviously I knew people personalized their cars a lot. And yeah, that's definitely something that's in this movie. I remember really liking it from the get-go, but I knew I would. What's not to like? It's a bunch of fast cars and hot people and good music,
And really good music.
Right up my alley. Yeah. It's hard not to talk about all of them in general without talking about it because this is the most normal of all of them. It's such a simple plot. They're, stealing VCRs, which seems funny, in hindsight. And,
TV VCR combos is what they're stealing, and it's hilarious.
And it's such a simple plot line. And then obviously eventually things goes off the rails, not just in this movie, but in general in the saga, if you will.
Yeah. It was, if I'm not mistaken, it was based on a magazine article about car racing. And then they decided, I think they wanted to remake Point Break. But instead of bank robbing and skydiving, they wanted to make cars and stealing DVD players for some reason.
Exactly it.
And I think it works.
I even remember that when I was watching it again and I was looking at stuff online and I went back and I read the entire article about the guy and everything. But I was telling my daughter all about it, like, oh yeah, it's Vibe magazine, Rafael Estevez, and he was a Dominican man. He's still around. I say he's still around. But yeah, and yes, it is very much the plot of Point Break. You have the young, law enforcement person infiltrating this gang of, people.
Yeah.
We both created infographics to try to navigate the complicated world of the Fast and the Furious. So if you hear clicking, that's me trying to go through this. So starting with the cast, I think now that I've thought about it and now that we talked about it before, I think the best place to start is actually Brian. And I think it's because he's actually the main character in the first Fast and the Furious and the second one.
Yes, he is.
So Brian starts off as is he cop or FBI? I can't remember. It's been a while.
I think he's an FBI. I think he has FBI handlers.
Yes. And so he's like young, he's going undercover. He has some kind of background in car racing because he knows about it, like for real, not just he read the report and, fails in the practical aspect. But he can do it. So in the first one, he makes friends with the rest of the characters, most of which we see throughout the movies. But yeah, he's trying to take down the people who are stealing from these trucks. It's not even like he's trying to take down racers who are racing illegally. No, it's a whole thing. But he makes friends with these people, which is what made me believe like how easily he was swayed to, let them go. It's not just him being in love with Mia, which we'll get to Mia, but I don't know if they ever specifically say it. I just think that maybe Brian had maybe not the greatest family dynamic when he was growing up, and that's why he was very much into being part of this found family unit.
Yes, totally agree with that. They don't really talk anything about his family at all. So it's safe to say that, yeah, he sees his family that really love one another, including like non-family members, just additional crew, and how much they care for one another and how each other's backs. He's probably never seen that before in his life.
Yeah, I mean, in part 2, you get to see one of his friends from back in the day, but that friend basically thought that Brian had betrayed him, so they weren't close anymore. So yeah, and then Brian falls in love with Mia, and we'll get to her in a second. And then the whole family thing that we're talking about is, of course, Dominic Toretto, which is Vin Diesel, who is now the star of the Fast and the franchise theory because Paul Walker passed away. I think I said it before, I don't think that at the beginning Dom comes off as like any kind of good guy. He's not a bad guy. He's stealing these things because he wants to make money to keep racing. It's not like he's a nefarious drug lord. I don't remember hearing anything that any of the people in the trucks, like truck drivers, came to harm. Like they didn't die. They just got their stuff stolen. It's not even their stuff. It's just the thing that they're hauling back and
delivery,
forth. Yeah. So they're not like evil bad guys. They're just kind of, I guess, irresponsible.
Right.
On a criminal level.
They don't even have guns.
No, I don't
think so. They have like harpoon guns, but
grappling
that's
hooks.
It. Grappling hooks. That's exactly what it is. Grappling hooks. They're not drawing guns. They're not carjacking or anything. They're just stealing product.
Yeah.
None of the drivers get into harm.
He's not a good guy. He's not a bad guy, but he's very much into this family unit. He's got his sister, and then everybody else is found family. His sister, obviously, Mia, who Brian starts dating, Letty, his girlfriend, then wife. And then the other crew that we don't see in the other movies except for Vince. But yeah, he has 3 other people in his gang, and they're all really close-knit. Most of them commit these crimes together, and they race together. And yeah, so I think that's what brought Brian into the whole thing. And even though he was a cop and he confessed it once he basically exposes himself when he saves Vince, you know, I think once Brian gave Dom the keys to go, then I think it was kind of forgiven because we basically just screwed his own career by doing that. So yeah, so then Dom, what can you say about Dom? He lives his life a quarter of a mile at a time.
Mile at a time, yes.
But yeah, he's family. It turned into a whole thing, family. Yeah, he just kind of picks up strays.
Exactly, he just picks up strays.
And so then Mia, his sister, I think, wasn't she in school at the beginning?
Yes, she was studying for some test when she looked out the window and she saw Brian walk up the steps.
Ooh.
Yeah, then she started like, oh my god, she had to get dressed and stuff and adjust her hair. We should also mention that Brian went to the Toretto market every day to order the same lunch.
Yeah, the crappy tuna fish sandwich.
Tuna sandwich. No crust.
No crust, like a 5-year-old. I say that. I just finished eating a bologna sandwich with no crust. You can't get more juvenile than that. But I mean, Mia, beautiful woman, and she also knows how to, drive the cars. Even though I don't think she was not participating in the hijacks or whatever.
But she knows how to drive. Every single person, everyone in the series knows how to drive, except Ramses, which we'll come across later in the series.
Yeah. That's how they met that's how pretty much they all met each other. Now I understand like Dom, even Mia, because as we find out in the first movie, their dad was a race car driver. So it makes sense that, they would be really good car drivers. But yeah, that's the beginning of the whole family. It's them, and they all drive cars really, really well. Well, including Brian, who didn't grow up with them, but that's how they get along. That's how they get to know each other. Yes. And then Letty's the last of that. Letty's the last of the original crew, and she's Dom's girlfriend and then wife. And I guess she was friends with Mia, and she was hanging around and couldn't resist Dom. And even in the first movie where you see him with like other women, she just kind of like shoves them away. It's like,
right. We quote that line all the time. I smell skank.
Oh my god.
And like, oh my god. That's her introduction.
Yeah, that's what 2001 didn't age well, but still.
Right.
But I mean, other than that, her personality is tough. She's Michelle Rodriguez. It's a tough chick, but she is the most literal sense of the word ride or die. Literally. She's going to drive, she's going to ride, or she's going to die with her man, with her friends. Yes. Cool. So yeah, the rest of the crew we never see again except Vince. Vince didn't like Brian at first. He smelled cop all over him. But he had to run off at the end of the movie, like I think most of them did, to try to avoid jail time. So he'd been hiding in Brazil. We see him again in part 4. 4? 5.
5.
5.
5.
Yes,
we see him.
5.
Fast 5.
Oh my god. That's another funny story because Vin Diesel's actually much older than Michelle Rodriguez in respect that if they got together when Letty was 16, then she was underage. Yeah,
the math was a little off.
A little off.
But
yeah, so we have Corona, we have Ja Rule, we have
Ja Rule.
I know, right? Music by Limp Bizkit. There was a lot of hip hop and metal. I mean, you mentioned like we should talk about favorite cars, and I hate to be basic, but that 1970 Dodge Charger, when it first came out on the screen, I was like, oh my god! Because not even that, I've always loved the 1970 Dodge Charger. So when I saw it, it was like, oh my god, I love that car anyway. So I'm very glad to see it come back and over and over and over again.
And over again. Yeah, that's his. It's like, what's the word? It's the icon of the series. Muscle cars doesn't do it for me, so it was definitely the 10-second car that they revitalized. That was my favorite vehicle in the series, in the first movie. So it's was it a Nissan Skyline, I believe?
Well, yeah, Brian's car.
I forgot.
Well, Brian liked Nissans. Period.
Yeah, Brian loved Nissan. So
yeah, they always made fun of him for like preferring imports, but they drove imports also.
They did. Dom drove a Miata? No, a Mazda of some sort.
Isn't a Miata from Mazda?
Yeah, but I don't think it was a Miata though. I
was
could
a
be
Mazda.
wrong. I should have researched this, but
and Brian had the Mitsubishi.
Mm-hmm.
And Letty had a Nissan. See, I wrote this down because in part 1 at least, the cars were so distinct.
Yes.
Yeah, and Jesse had a Jetta. And yeah, no, it was a simple movie. I hate to say simple. It's just that it's simple compared to some of the other stuff. I enjoyed it a lot. I'm not surprised that they made a sequel. I'm not surprised that... I am surprised that when I look back at Rotten Tomatoes, did you know it was 54.74?
Really?
I know. I was very surprised. I'm not surprised about the critic score, but 74 on people. I was surprised.
That's still fresh, right?
Yeah.
74?
Yeah, it is still fresh, but I don't know. I guess it's such an iconic movie now,
right,
that I was expecting it to have been more. But again, I'm not surprised that it did well. It made, according to what Wikipedia, it was made for about 40 million and it made 207. And I think that part of that and part of why the series in general does so well is because of the multicultural cast. When you sell that movie overseas, everybody, gets to feel like a part of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Especially when we go to Too Fast, Too Furious. Yeah, it definitely brings in a lot of different cultures together.
Yeah, so we can move on to Too Fast, Too Furious.
Yeah.
That's
or
honestly...
you want to...
No, what?
You can go to Turbocharge first, that little short.
Crap. Yeah, I do actually have Turbocharge in my notes. So
I see it on your spreadsheet. Yeah, she made a spreadsheet.
I made a spreadsheet to try to keep all these movies straight because yesterday I was still flailing around trying to remember everything. As I was watching the movies, I kept trying to go back into my notes, but I still couldn't figure things out. But for those who aren't in the know, Turbocharged is a 20-minute or less little featurette with no dialogue that was set right before Too Fast, Too Furious, and it shows Brian basically, when he, at the end of Fast and the Furious, he gives Dom his keys, basically, which is bad because he's a cop. So he goes on the lam, if you will. He goes to Miami, and you see his trip from California
to Miami.
Yeah. He does a lot of racing. He switches cars. There's a girl in it, but there's no dialogue. It's just music. And then I did make a note that once they got to Miami, the music changed to Latin music. I don't appreciate that, but I understand.
Why not?
Oh, because it's just now we're in Miami, so let's kick off Miami Sound Machine, and it wasn't Miami Sound Machine, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know.
That happened one time off topic when I was watching, I forgot which year of The Real World, if it was 2 or 3, and everybody had an intro, and then when they got to the girl from Miami, they switched to Latin music, and I was just come on, man. You don't even know she likes that. But anyway, yeah, Turbocharged, and nobody's in it really that we know but Brian, right?
No, it's just Brian.
So you can watch it online. It's on YouTube or Vimeo or something. So
it was a DVD extra for Too Fast, Too Furious.
Cool. I mean, I didn't need to know. It's those little Marvel shorts. He's in Miami. Okay, I got it. Thank you. So yeah, Too Fast,
I guess
Too
I just want to explain it.
Okay, Fast and the Furious came out in 2001. Too Fast, Too Furious came out in 2003 with actually worse Rotten Tomato scores, 3650. So the audience was 50-50 on it. I'm going to tell you right now, this one's my favorite.
I think it's one of my favorites too. And I think the hatred from critics only comes because Vin Diesel is not in it.
Yeah, this is the one he's not in, not even as a cameo.
Not as a cameo. Just a brief mention, not even by name.
Yeah.
It's a brief mention of his character, and I think that's why. But I liked it. I loved it. And I really, really... Roman. Introducing Roman to the series, as much as he's just great stand-up. He's comic relief.
Yeah,
which I love.
Tyrese Gibbons. So in part 2, Too Fast, Too Furious, that's when you get to see Roman, which is Brian's friend from, I don't know, childhood, teen years, 20
friends,
years,
yeah.
And then eventually everybody comes back once Fast 5 comes and they need to do the heist. Yes. So you see Roman, and he's got a really big mouth. I don't know what to say. He talks a lot.
He talks a lot.
He can be kind of annoying, and that's actually usually part of his shtick, is he distracts and annoys the bad guys while the others do what they need to do. Mm-hmm. And he likes to spend his money on fast cars and getting girls. That is Roman's personality.
Tyrese Gibson's real life personality too.
Is it? I wouldn't be surprised, just to say, because some of the non-actor people who turn actors, a lot of like their roles tend to, at least at first, be very much based on their own personalities. Oh, who else is in part 2? It's Ludacris.
Ludacris gets, yep. We are introduced to Ludacris,
who also comes back eventually, and it's part of like the main crew that none of which can die now, apparently. So Ludacris, who came in as the guy who was doing getting together the car chases, car
underground races,
in Miami. And that was his thing. He was a car person. It's not that he's not funny. He's just, I don't know. I really like his character. He's just kind of like the straight man. He's just, very down to earth and realistic kind of guy. Mm-hmm. And I guess Brian knew him too?
Yes. I think Brian and Tej knew one another. Like, if Tej needs another driver to race, Brian's like first on his contact list.
But they knew each other before?
I believe so. I don't know how much further, but like Brian like gives some of his winnings to Tej, so I think they have like a partnership in a way.
Yeah, they seemed acquainted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No one else is introduced other than Monica Fuentes.
Right, but she does like a cameo at one point in the future.
Yeah, she does a cameo in another movie.
Yeah, but she's
other
not
than
in
that,
crew.
nobody else shows up again from Too Fast, Too Furious.
Right.
Aside from Roman and Tej.
So in part 2, basically you have Brian again, but instead of having the Dom character as his the secondary person, it's Roman, played by Tyrese Gibbons?
Gibson.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I think I just said it. Tyrese, who's way more of a comedic performer than Vin Diesel plays in the series. Not saying Vin Diesel's not funny, I'm just saying he plays it pretty straight in these movies. And somebody asked me like, oh, why is it your favorite? Don't you like Vin Diesel? And I'm like, yeah, I like Vin Diesel. I don't know. I do like that it's set in Miami, but I don't know. I like the cars. I like the action. I love that scene where near the end, when they're kind of like trying to elude the cops and they drive into that garage. And then when the garage doors open, it's like 100 cars come
100 cars and pickup trucks ramming police officers.
Oh my God, I loved that scene.
Helicopters completely losing track of vehicles.
Yeah.
Yes, it's one of my favorite scenes ever. And that building's still around too.
Yeah, it's part of Wynwood. I recognize some of the landmarks of Miami.
Yes.
Anyway. So in that movie, what's his name? Let me check my spreadsheet here. Carter Verone.
Carter Verone
is a Miami drug lord. And why did they get involved in this exact? They're going to give him...
Eva Mendes is an undercover FBI agent working alongside Carter Verone. So I think they needed to get her out somehow. Was it?
Yes, Eva Mendes is undercover, kind of like Brian was in this, bad guy scenario. And I think the cops are gonna forgive Brian, I guess, for what he did in LA if he helps.
Pardon.
Yeah.
They're gonna pardon.
And they're gonna
Brian.
expunge Roman, right? His record. Because
Yes.
Roman also had a record. That's why he's all mad at Brian for thinking that.
Oh, that whole bickering for the beginning of the movie was hilarious too.
Oh, Brian has a Nissan again. Haha.
Mm-hmm.
And the muscle cars. Oh, there's another Dodge Charger.
Yeah, those were driven by like those like Fonzie in a way.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's the beginning. Ludacris doesn't drive. He's just a simple mechanic.
He's just a simple mechanic, and I want everyone to remember that.
Remember that. Because he oh my god.
Mechanic. Yeah, soundtrack includes Ludacris, and also Pitbull. Mm-hmm. I love Pitbull's music in these. I love a lot of the music in this, but I do love the Pitbull songs. I have them on in my Spotify. Yeah, see, there's not much to say. I only have one page of notes because, again, it's another simple, straightforward movie. A lot of great action scenes. And another thing that is recurring in all these movies, which I look out for every single time, which is the scene where you have a car race with a bunch of great music and a bunch of half-naked women. And you have the whole flag going down, you know.
Yep.
It's in every single one, and I'm waiting for it every single time. Mm-hmm. That's Fast and Furious.
Those are my favorite scenes. What it didn't have that I love from the first one was the inside camera view of a car engine when someone presses NOS. They brought it back in the later films, but I don't think they did it this time. When you press NOS, the car just zooms forward. Well, he didn't go into their exhaust or anything.
In these movies, up until a certain point, there's like a certain effect that they do when the cars are going really fast after the NOS. Mm-hmm. I don't remember exactly when it stopped, but I know that Too Fast, Too Furious has at least that. There's like I don't even know what to call it. There's like a little effect around the car and the person.
The blur, like a halo around the car, yes.
Right. That happens once they hit the NOS.
Yes.
This is directed by John Singleton.
Mm-hmm. First one was directed by Rob Cohn, and second one's it's different from all his other films.
There's speaking of the international element on these, there's a lot of Spanish speaking in this movie, which I appreciate. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of Spanish speaking in a lot of these movies, and I am a Spanish speaker, so I very much appreciate it. It's really nice to, I don't know, it's just really nice to have it in there, and it feels like an inside joke almost. Like, I know that the subtitles are there, but yeah, I don't know. I don't need them, and I like it. I'm the target audience. I guess. Yeah. We should mention like the stunts. In part one, the stunt is basically that car that hijacking at the end where the trucker has the guns basically because they're suspecting it. And then this one, I think, is that car right at the end, which culminates in the car jumping onto the boat.
Yes. That was hilarious.
And that's Too Fast, Too Furious, which again is my favorite one. All right.
It's one that I go back to a lot. If I'm doing like a marathon, I don't sleep through it.
All right, so I'm just gonna say this. I forgot to hit record, so I'm really sorry. I'm an idiot. We're gonna keep going, which is let's just start with Tokyo Drift. And then I think for this one, we actually should just probably go in order of how the movies came out because. You know, Tokyo Drift is what came out after. Even though it's not story-wise the same, we're going to get really confused if we don't talk about Han right now.
Like, I haven't seen Tokyo Drift in years. Like, I can't even remember, like, the love interest.
Oh, okay. All right. So here's Tokyo Drift. Tokyo Drift came out in 2006. It's technically the third movie, but because of the retconning, it's chronologically after Fast and Furious 6. We have, what do we have? We have no one from the original cast except for a cameo from Vin Diesel at the very, very end. Mm-hmm. Han is in it, but that was Han's first movie. And honestly, the first time I saw it, I didn't realize he was going to eventually be such a big part of the series, especially since he died like halfway through. But he already knew Dom from before that.
Yes.
So we don't, as the audience, don't know it.
No clue.
No clue. But Han comes out there, and Han is apparently such a beloved character that they retconned the series to bring him back. And then even when they did kill him, they brought him back anyway.
Yes.
So Han is just Wolverine, I guess.
Yeah,
I don't know. Han is also a character I really like because he's just really laid back and, you know, he does his job well. And I don't know. He just seems like really likable guy. And he's always eating. That's his thing. He quit smoking.
That's his thing. What's that factoid you found out? Justin Lin's Better Luck Tomorrow introduces a character named Han, played by the same actor.
Yeah, so I didn't know this, but Nat knew this and didn't tell me that this director just brought in the character from the movie that he had made before. So this movie is technically sort of part of the Fast and the Furious universe because it's the same character. He's playing the same character. It's not just, his name's Han.
Always snacking on something, too.
Yep.
I think because he was breaking a cigarette habit in the movie, hence why he's always snacking on something.
So, who stars in this movie? The character's name is Sean. Luke.
Luke is black.
Right. And then I'll say it again. I'm very sorry. The first time I saw Tokyo Drift, I thought that it was one of those movies where like it's Transmorphers instead of Transformers.
It's a low budget, made for TV movie.
It just looks like a fake version of the series. It just doesn't. It's like they took the elements like fast cars, racing, and that's it.
It just added the Fast 5 logo to it.
Right.
It's almost like a fan film in a way.
Starring, and again, this is part 3, so it comes, it comes after Too Fast, Too Furious. So then it's like, okay, so we have, I'm so sorry, white protagonist with his minority friend going to race against other minorities.
Yeah. Now that you remind me of that, like, oh yeah, now I remember why I didn't like it that much.
So the character gets in trouble for racing, and then he gets sent to Tokyo. He's from somewhere in the South, Texas or something. I don't really remember. Alabama, no idea. And then so Tokyo Drift refers to what the cars do. They drift, kind of moving sideways. Which looks really cool on the screen. I'm sure a lot of people were trying to do it after the movie. I'm not even going to look it up. I know it's true.
A lot of donuts in the parking lot afterwards, yes.
And then, you mentioned the love interest. I don't know. It was a girl from Tokyo.
But she herself wasn't Japanese.
No, she wasn't. You're right. She was, I don't remember actually. She was like half and half from other places.
She almost looked Latina, but her uncle was the head of the Yakuza. So that was weird.
That's right. And then what happens, I remember now.
She's
Sean
Peruvian. Okay.
In the movie or in real life?
In real life.
Oh, well, there you go. You got it. But yeah, she's not, he's in Tokyo and he finds like the one woman who's not Asian. Anyway, so he's an idiot and he decides to like race like the main dude. He fails miserably in Han's car. And I just remember, again, watching it thinking, why would you give this moron your car? You've never met this guy in your life. Why would you let him do that? And then I just figured he was like, I don't know, bored rich guy, a nihilist. Because Han invests a lot in this kid. And then here's the other thing, especially when you know that he's in the rest of the movies and how much money he's made from these things. He is screwing the Yakuza family over for money? Is that it?
I believe so.
Why?
I don't have a clue.
That's the thing. When you watch it the first time, you're like, okay, yeah, that could happen. And then when you get the backstory, because he's in the other movies, you're like, why would he do that? Even more, why would he do that? I don't know. Yeah, this is my least favorite of them all. Then Han dies. We think he's dead anyway. And then there's another final action scene where he's racing the same guy down the mountain, something like that. and then he wins.
Yeah. Might I add, the ugliest car in the Fast and the Furious franchise was in this movie.
What was it?
Driven by Little Bow Wow.
Ah.
It's that little green
the Hulk
Nissan
one.
Scion with a Hulk hand on the back of it.
Mm-hmm.
If you ever look at it, I apologize. It's the ugliest car in the franchise.
Yeah, I wrote that down. Hulk car, Little Bow Wow. This, this movie made money. Critics usually don't like these movies. The fans usually tend to like them better. But it didn't do terrible, I guess. It's only slightly better than Furious 4, honestly, on the fan scale. That's about it. I only rewatched it because of this podcast. I don't really like this movie at all. Sorry, dude.
No apologies.
And I forgot to mention he looks 30. He's playing like 17 or something.
Yeah.
I gotta say it. It just looks wrong.
The actor right now is 40. So yeah, he was 30-some odd years old playing a high school student. Like usual.
Wait, he's 40 now?
Yeah.
Well, this movie is only
2006.
Yeah, so that's 17 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So he would have been 17,
like 20s?
23. I'm so sorry, guy. You honestly haven't aged. You've looked 30 this whole time. Because he does come back later. So I'm just going to say it. Don't feel bad. You've looked 30 this entire time. There's no point in talking about the other characters in Tokyo Drift. The other characters in Tokyo Drift make cameos later on. That's all we can really say about them. I don't really know what happened, what they were doing this whole time besides becoming rocket scientists.
But let's go to the Fast and Furious.
No, let's go to Los Bandoleros.
Los Bandoleros.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's Vin Diesel directed that one, right? I think.
Yes, he did.
So that's another like 20-minute or so, give or take, little mini featurette that leads up to Fast and Furious, which is technically part 4. And
the worst title.
Yes. Well, their entire title is doesn't make sense. There's no rhyme or reason.
No.
But the thing with Los Bandoleros is that I hadn't seen it when I originally saw these movies. So I didn't really need to. Like, obviously, you go into Fast and Furious and you pretty much know what's going on. But what happens in Los Bandoleros is it shows you where Dom and Letty and some of the people basically were after part 1. And they were, where are they? They're in the Dominican Republic, is that it?
Yes.
And they were stealing gas, or they found out, what you should be stealing here is gas. So it makes you money. That's what people want. And the one thing that I didn't get was that Letty and Dom got married. So when you go into Fast and Furious 4, you don't know that. I don't think there's anything to indicate that. And in fact, even though I watched Los Bandoleros, I was not 100% sure. Because they don't show the wedding. They just show her with like some white thing that could have been a veil, could have been a scarf, could have been a curtain. It could have been anything. But I think this is also the introduction of other recurring characters. Tego and Santos, played by musicians Tego and Don Omar. But Tego and Don Omar, who's Rico.
Yeah.
Sorry. They're Los Bandoleros and then Fast 4. And I really love, they come up in a few of the movies. I always love their cameos. I'm always looking out for them.
Every time I see them, I'm like, yes, what are they going to argue about?
Yes, so they're two obviously good friends that all they do is argue with each other in Spanish.
Complain about something. Always dissing each other's cooking abilities.
Yeah, but yeah, so they just, you see them every once in a while when they need somebody to do something, hiding in plain sight, like the two workers that come in and like you don't even think about them because they're wearing the work uniform.
They're just plumbers.
Yeah. Oh, there's
a
plumbing van stops right there in no one would think. And yeah, so I love them. They're two of my fave. And then it has I really miss this song. The fact that they don't play this song in every single Fast and Furious, the Los Bandoleros song, annoys me. I love that song. That song is Fast and Furious to me. And they should put like the guitar just a little bit somewhere where I can hear it.
Just a hint, like the theme. Yes. Yeah. It would be nice if they did that.
No, I love it. I will just sing it randomly. You know? And it's so on point that they had it in the movies for a while and then it went away. But Los Bandoleros, which is in Spanish, basically means the outlaws. But I don't know how it would be in every single Hispanic, Latin American culture, but I'm half Cuban, half Colombian. So when I see that, Los Bandoleros, that outlaw, it's kind of implied that they're not necessarily bad people, or they're only bad because they're in a bad situation. It's not like I'm an evil man who wants everything. It's more like, this sucks and I gotta do what I gotta do to stay alive or take care of my people. And if that means doing bad things, that's what I gotta do.
Yeah, it's almost like the whole stealing gas is almost like a Robin Hood thing.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah, it's very on point. So at least to me. So it's nice. Han's in it, by the way. They're drinking Presidente, not Corona. The things I
wonder what happened.
I don't know.
Did they lose their sponsorship for that movie?
Through. And then, do we have time for Fast and Furious before we gotta go?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll leave it. We can leave after that. So Fast and the Furious 4, though, is Too Fast, Too Furious? It's a drug lord again.
It is a drug lord.
And then, so let's see. Dom leaves Letty in the Dominican Republic. That's at the beginning. And then Letty, we don't know this until later on in the movie, Letty gets together with Brian to help solve some crime. And in return, she gets like pardons for all of them, which means Dom can return to the States.
Yes.
Letty dies while... Quote, Letty dies.
Yes.
Because no one dies.
No one dies.
During this exchange. And so Dom comes in and now it's Dom and Brian instead of Roman and Brian to take down a drug lord. And they do this kind of same thing. They both audition to work with the guy.
Yes.
They're both trying to work with the drug lord and get in on it, and it's Too Fast, Too Furious.
Yeah. It was weird. The more I've watched it, the more I can everyone has their equivalent in Too Fast, Too Furious. Like there's even almost, she wasn't really undercover, but isn't Gal Gadot working for Braga too?
Yeah, she's not undercover. She's just not as big of a bad guy as him. And I want to take note here that Gal Gadot is playing the techie person in this. She's the tech person. She's got all this tech around her she's
installing the GPS systems in all the cars and stuff. Yeah.
Yes. And I want to make a note of that for later. That's what she's doing. But yeah, so the street race like usual, and then the big stunt is all the driving through the tunnels as they're trying to come in from Mexico to the US, because the whole thing is that they're supposed to be bringing in the drugs for the drug lord. It's fine.
I liked it.
I'm gonna leave that empty space of audio there because it's we liked it. It's fine.
It's fine. It's a great action movie on its own.
Right. It's directed by Justin
Would you be able to watch any of these movies without ever watching the rest?
Yes.
On its own? Yeah.
I think almost all of them.
I don't think Fast X you can though.
But yeah, because they just replay part 5.
Yeah. Right.
I think the biggest confusion with Fast X is little Brian, the little kid. It's the only thing that I think would throw people off. But you can go into Fast and Furious 4 having never seen it, and it starts off pretty simple. They're trying to steal gas. Okay, got it. And Dom thinks, oh no, I'm just going to, bring bad things. So he leaves. I think it's, almost any of these movies. It's definitely not like the Marvel Universe. You can walk into these and get the gist of it. Get the gist of it,
exactly.
They all know each other in some way or form. They all have history together in some way or form. Some of them are related. And then they do these crazy things that bring about a bunch of crazy action sequences. And then, things end usually happily. Even at the end when Dom goes to jail, they go break him out. That's how the movie ends, right? They go do the thing that they did with the trucks, which is, they bring in the cars, they're racing against the bus, one gets in front, they do that same formation.
Yes.
It brings it all back together.
And they focus on the cross.
Yeah.
Hanging from the rearview mirror.
The cross, guys. We didn't bring in the cross.
And we didn't bring the cross.
It started as not a big deal.
No.
It was just a piece of jewelry. And then it became, I don't even know, a symbol for all of them.
It's a symbol for all the movies. It just became like an icon.
It is.
Like, it's just as important as some of these cars at times.
Yeah, it's an infinity stone.
It is the infinity stone of the Fast and the Furious universe. It is.
And they only the people in the Toretto family have it, or you can marry into it and get it.
You could marry into the.
Otherwise, you don't get the special cross. I don't. How many of them are there?
I don't know.
Well, Jacob had one in part 9.
Yes, I saw that. Like, did they all get it from their dad?
Yes.
I don't know.
Okay, so in Fast 4, I also have that cop guy, Stasiak. I know him when I see him, but I don't really have anything to say about him except that he's a cop guy that sometimes shows up to work with them. Well, I was about to say it's the guy from the new Mission Impossible, but you haven't seen that movie.
Elena.
No, not Elena. Hold on. Why don't you Google him? Because otherwise I'm just going to Google him.
There's a cop guy in Fast and the Furious that shows up again?
Yeah, he's in 3 movies. Yeah, he's in 4, 6, and 9. It's okay, we don't need to talk about him. I just wrote him down because he was in 3 movies. Look, this guy. No?
Oh!
Okay,
yes,
there you go.
That guy. I didn't list him because, again, he's not directly involved in a heist. He's never in a car.
Okay.
I don't know.
All right. No, I just, because some of these government or police or I don't even know what the hell, agency, I guess, people are recurring. Like Mr. Nobody and Little Baby Nobody, whatever his name was. So I did list some of them, but only if they came out in more than one movie, and he's in 3 of them. I don't know anything really about him except he's in 3 of these.
And he's got his nose broken twice.
Oh, great. Really?
Brian broke his nose twice. Yeah, because I think he tried to, strong arm Brian, and Brian just, took him and slammed him against the wall. And then Brian did it again in order for an excuse to be sent to prison.
Which brings us to Fast 5. Okay, hold on. Are we done with Fast 4? It's that easy? Yeah. It is.
Yeah.
And not to say that it's bad. The ratings on it were actually 29.67. So critics hated it. Audiences liked it pretty much, And it's not bad. I like it. If you said, hey, let's watch it, I'd be like, all right, yeah, sure, let's watch Fast 4. Of course, there are others I like more, but that's fine.